The lost city of Atlantis has remained one of the greatest mysteries of all time. For thousands of years, the story of this vanished world has haunted the imagination of explorers, philosophers, and dreamers. Was it a land of immense power and wealth, an advanced society that reached heights beyond what we can even imagine today? Or was it simply a myth created by the great thinkers of the ancient world? The very mention of Atlantis stirs visions of golden palaces, rings of canals, powerful kings, and a sudden catastrophic fall. But where does the story begin, and why has it continued to fascinate generation after generation? Together, we will travel through history, myth, and speculation to explore whether Atlantis was merely a legend or whether somewhere beneath the oceans, traces of this forgotten civilization still lie hidden. The tale of Atlantis first emerged not in distant folklore, but from one of the most respected voices in Western philosophy, Plato. Around 360 BC, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a mighty island empire that existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the place we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. According to him, Atlantis was a vast land, larger than Libya and Asia combined, and it was home to a powerful people who ruled with ambition, pride, and extraordinary wealth. The story, Plato insisted, was not invention, but history, passed down through Egyptian priests and preserved in ancient records long before his own time. Plato tells us that Atlantis was blessed with fertile soil, a mild climate, and an abundance of resources. It was especially rich in precious metals, among them a mysterious substance called orichalcum, said to shine with a fiery red brilliance, second only to gold in value. The island was divided into provinces and ruled by kings, each descended from Poseidon, the god of the sea. At its center stood a magnificent capital city, built in concentric rings of land and water, an architectural marvel connected by bridges, gates, and canals. At the very heart of this city rose the temple of Poseidon himself, a sanctuary covered in silver and gold, where sacrifices were offered and laws were decreed. Yet as glorious as Atlantis was, Plato describes its downfall in stark and dramatic words. In a single day and night of misfortune, earthquakes and floods consumed the island. The great nation, once proud and mighty, sank beneath the waves, vanishing from history, leaving behind only a cautionary tale of human ambition, corruption, and divine punishment. But was Plato's account meant as history, or was it allegory? Many scholars argue that he used the story as a moral lesson, a way to warn Athens of the dangers of arrogance and greed. Others, however, believe that Plato may have been preserving fragments of genuine memory, echoes of an ancient civilization destroyed in prehistory, passed down through oral traditions and hidden knowledge. This question is what has given Atlantis its unique power. Myths come and go, but the story of Atlantis continues to grow, branching into countless theories. Some place it in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, its ruins scattered among the islands of the Azores. Others claim it lies beneath the sands of the Sahara, in the circular structure of the Richat Formation, also called the Eye of the Sahara, which bears a striking resemblance to Plato's description of concentric rings. Still others say it may have existed in the Mediterranean, near Crete, linked to the destruction of the Minoan civilization by volcanic eruption and tidal waves. Even within Plato's time, knowledge was not always preserved in books or public teaching. Mystery schools and secret brotherhoods guarded fragments of wisdom passed down from older ages. Could it be that Plato's account was drawn not only from Egyptian records, but also from knowledge whispered within these schools, knowledge meant to be preserved when cataclysm struck? The idea is not far-fetched, for civilizations across the world carry stories of a great flood, a disaster that swept away entire peoples, leaving only survivors to begin again. What makes the legend of Atlantis more than a simple tale is the detail with which Plato described it. He tells of the land's geography, its laws, its divisions of power, even the character of its people. It was not merely a poetic metaphor, but a fully drawn picture of a real society. And so, generation after generation, readers have asked themselves, could Plato have been remembering something real? During the Middle Ages, Atlantis faded from memory, but with the Renaissance, when scholars turned back to the classical texts of Greece and Rome, the mystery of Atlantis reawakened. Explorers crossing the Atlantic Ocean to the New World wondered if they might find proof of the lost land. The Spanish, Portuguese, and later European voyagers discovered civilizations in the Americas that stunned them with their architecture and culture, and many wondered wondered if these peoples were somehow connected to the Atlanteans of old. Was the story of Atlantis not a myth, but a distant memory of civilizations destroyed by cataclysm, civilizations that gave rise to new cultures far across the globe? As the centuries passed, Atlantis became a canvas onto which countless theories were painted. Some saw it as an allegory of human pride. Others imagined it as a utopia, the birthplace of ancient wisdom and forgotten technology. Writers and mystics claimed to have visions of its temples and palaces. Scientists, too, entered the search, using geology and oceanography to explore whether an island could indeed have disappeared beneath the waves 12,000 years ago. And yet, for all the theories, one question has never been fully answered. Was Atlantis real, or has it always been a story meant to inspire reflection on the rise and fall of civilizations?
What is certain is that the legend has never lost its grip on us. From the pens of philosophers to the maps of explorers, from the pages of novels to the stages of Hollywood films, Atlantis has continued to live, a city both lost and never forgotten, forever suspended between myth and truth. The rise, splendor, and fall of Atlantis. Plato's description of Atlantis is unlike any other tale of the ancient world. He does not merely hint at a land across the sea. He lays out its geography with precision, its system of government, and even its decline into corruption. According to his writings, Atlantis was a great maritime power, an island kingdom blessed with extraordinary wealth and natural beauty. Mountains rose in the north, fertile plains stretched to the south, and streams of fresh water flowed through the valleys. Forests provided timber, fields yielded abundant crops, and the seas offered rich harvests of fish. Atlantis, in Plato's vision, was nothing less than paradise itself. At its heart stood the great capital, designed with breathtaking symmetry. The city was built in rings, alternating circles of land and water, connected by bridges and guarded by gates. Wide canals allowed ships to sail deep into the city, carrying goods and treasures from every corner of the empire. Towers gleamed in the sunlight, temples shone with precious metals, and the central island at the very core held the palace of the kings and the temple of Poseidon. Here, the Atlanteans honored the god who had fathered their royal line, offering sacrifices of bulls in a sacred ritual carried out by 10 kings who ruled in harmony, each bound by ancient laws inscribed upon a pillar of orichalcum. In its early days, Plato says, Atlantis was ruled with justice. Its people were noble, its kings wise, and its society balanced. But as time passed, corruption crept in. The Atlanteans, drunk on power and wealth, grew greedy. Their ambition turned outward, and they sought to dominate not only their neighbors, but the world beyond. Their armies expanded, their fleets threatened distant shores, and soon they set their sights on Greece itself. It was Athens, young but brave, that stood against them, resisting their might and defeating their armies. It was after this humiliation, Plato tells us, that the gods punished Atlantis. The destruction came suddenly and without mercy. Earthquakes tore open the ground, fire rained from the heavens, and the seas surged higher and higher. In a single day and night of misfortune, the great island sank beneath the ocean waves, leaving nothing behind but mud and memory. The story, so vividly told, carried with it a warning. No matter how advanced or powerful a civilization becomes, arrogance and greed can bring even the mightiest to ruin. But how are we to read Plato's account? Was he preserving a fragment of history, or was he crafting an allegory, a moral fable to caution his fellow Athenians? Many classicists insist that Atlantis was never meant to be taken literally. They point out that Plato often used myths and parables to teach philosophical lessons. To them, Atlantis was not a real place, but a symbol of hubris, a mirror in which Athens might see its own reflection. Yet others argue differently. Plato was precise in his description. He gave the dimensions of the city, the arrangement of its canals, the span of its plains, and even the laws by which it was governed. He did not speak of it as fiction, but as fact, insisting that the story came from Egyptian priests through the lawmaker Solon, who had traveled to the city of Sais in the 6th century BC. The priests, he said, preserved records of a mighty civilization destroyed 9,000 years before, a time long before Greece had even begun. If Plato's story was mere allegory, why so much detail? Why so much emphasis on geography, politics, and architecture? And why did he place Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in a real and recognizable location? These questions have haunted scholars for centuries, leading many to wonder whether the story may have contained at least a kernel of truth. As the Renaissance rekindled Europe's fascination with the ancient world, the mystery of Atlantis returned to prominence. Explorers crossing the Atlantic speculated whether the lands they found in the New World might be remnants of Plato's lost island. The vast cities of the Aztec and Inca, with their temples and gold, seemed to echo Plato's words about wealth and grandeur. Could these civilizations have been descendants of Atlantean survivors scattered across the globe after the Great Catastrophe? During the Enlightenment, the search for Atlantis became even more ambitious. Scholars, geographers, and philosophers produced maps and treatises, placing the lost city in every imaginable corner of the earth. Some insisted it lay in the Caribbean, its ruins hidden among coral reefs. Others saw it in the frozen wastes of Antarctica, arguing that the continent had once been free of ice. Still others pointed to the Canary Islands, or the Azores, where volcanic peaks rise dramatically from the ocean, lonely mountaintops of a sunken land. Even as science advanced, the allure of Atlantis did not fade. Geologists studied the mid-Atlantic ridge, a massive mountain chain beneath the ocean, and some suggested that it might have once formed the spine of a vanished continent. Oceanographers mapped the seafloor, searching for structures that might resemble cities or temples. Each new discovery fueled the hope that somewhere beneath the depths, proof of Atlantis might still be found.